No one realizes it yet, but this glow will change medicine, physics, chemistry, and the fate of humanity itself. This is not just the story of a discovery. This is the story of a woman who refused to disappear. Her name was Marie Curie. She was born without privilege, denied education because of her gender, and yet she became the first woman to win a Nobel Prize, and the only person in history to win 2 Nobel Prizes in 2 different scientific fields. Tonight, on TimeLab Chronicles, we travel through time to uncover the life, struggles, sacrifices, and brilliance of the woman who illuminated science, at the cost of her own life. Marie Skłodowska was born on November 7, 1867, in Warsaw, a city under Russian occupation. Poland did not officially exist on the map. Speaking Polish was discouraged. Teaching Polish history was forbidden. And for women, higher education was nearly impossible. Marie's parents were teachers, deeply devoted to knowledge. Her home was filled with books, experiments, and intellectual curiosity. But tragedy came early. Her sister died of typhus. Her mother died of tuberculosis. By the age of 10, Marie had already learned that life was fragile and unfair. Still, she was exceptional. She excelled in mathematics and physics, but universities in Poland refused to admit women. So Marie studied in secret. She joined the Flying University, an underground educational network where Polish intellectuals taught forbidden subjects at night, constantly moving locations to avoid arrest. Education became an act of rebellion, but Marie wanted more. She dreamed of Paris. In 1891, Marie arrived in Paris with little money, thin clothing, and a burning ambition. She enrolled at the Sorbonne. Her living conditions were brutal. She often fainted from hunger. She studied in freezing rooms. Sometimes, her only meal was bread and tea. But she was unstoppable. She graduated first in her class in physics, and soon after earned a degree in mathematics. Paris had given her access to science, but not acceptance. She was still a woman, still foreign, still underestimated. Then, in 1894, she met a quiet, brilliant physicist. His name was Pierre Curie. Pierre Curie was fascinated by Marie's intellect. Unlike others, he did not see her as a student or assistant, but as an equal. Their partnership was extraordinary. They shared ideas, experiments, failures, and dreams. In 1895, they married, not with gold rings, but with bicycles they used for their honeymoon. Science was their shared language. Their laboratory, however, was far from glamorous. It was an old shed, poorly ventilated, dangerous. And inside it, Marie began studying a strange phenomenon. In 1896, Henri Becquerel discovered that uranium emitted invisible rays. Most scientists moved on. Marie did not. She measured these rays with extreme precision and realized something revolutionary. The radiation did not depend on chemical reactions. It came from inside the atom itself. Marie named this phenomenon radioactivity, a word that would change science forever. She studied pitchblende, a uranium-rich mineral, and found something shocking. It was more radioactive than uranium alone. That meant new elements were hidden inside. Marie and Pierre began an exhausting process, boiling, crushing, dissolving tons of ore by hand. Years passed. Then, success. In 1898, Marie announced the discovery of a new element. She named it polonium, after her homeland, Poland. Soon after, they discovered another, radium. It glowed faintly in the dark. Beautiful. Deadly. At the time, no one knew the danger. Marie carried test tubes in her pockets. stored radium in drawers, worked without protection. The world was mesmerized. In 1903, Marie and Pierre Curie, along with Becquerel, received the Nobel Prize in Physics. Marie Curie became the first woman to win a Nobel Prize. But her greatest tragedy was yet to come. Pierre Curie's death was not only a personal tragedy, it was a scientific catastrophe. On April 19, 1906, Pierre slipped on a wet Paris street and was crushed by a horse-drawn carriage. He died instantly. Marie Curie was 38 years old. She had lost her husband, her collaborator, her intellectual equal, the one person who truly understood her mind. For weeks, Marie could barely function. Her diary from this period contains almost nothing but grief. She wrote not about science, not about discoveries, but about silence. Yet the world did not stop. The laboratory remained, the research remained, and the radium continued to glow. Marie made a decision that shocked everyone around her. She did not step away from science, she stepped forward. Later that year, the University of Paris offered her Pierre's former position. No woman had ever held such a role before. Marie Curie became the first female professor at the Sorbonne. Her first lecture was historic. The lecture hall was packed. Scientists, journalists, students, all waiting to see what she would say. Marie began exactly where Pierre had stopped. No emotion, no drama, only science. It was a statement without words. She would not be erased. But the challenges were far from over. In 1910 and 1911, Marie Curie became the target of public scandal. The French press attacked her relentlessly. They focused not on her work, but on her gender, her nationality, her private life. She was accused of being immoral, of being dangerous, of not belonging. At the same time, the Nobel Committee informed her of something extraordinary. She had won a second Nobel Prize, this time in chemistry. She was advised not to attend the ceremony. Marie Curie ignored them. She traveled to Stockholm. She stood alone, and she accepted the prize. She became the only human being in history to win Nobel Prizes in two different scientific disciplines. In 1914, Europe collapsed into war. World War I turned cities into ruins and soldiers into numbers. Marie Curie saw something others did not. She saw suffering that science could reduce. At the time, X-rays existed, but they were slow, rare, and inaccessible near battlefields. Marie had an idea. If hospitals could not reach the wounded, science would go to them. She designed mobile X-ray units, cars equipped with generators, X-ray machines, and dark rooms. They were called Little Curies. Marie did not supervise from afar. She drove them herself. She trained nurses. She taught anatomy. She worked near the front lines. Thousands of soldiers were saved because bullets and shrapnel could be located without surgery. Marie never asked for recognition. She never asked for payment. She even donated her Nobel Prize money to the war effort. To Marie Curie, science was not a tool for fame. It was a tool for humanity. For decades, Marie Curie worked with radioactive materials without protection. There were no safety protocols, no warning labels, no understanding of long-term exposure. Radium fascinated her. She described it as beautiful. It glowed softly in the dark, like bottled starlight. She kept samples in her desk drawers. She carried them in her pockets. Slowly, invisibly, radiation damaged her body. Her hands burned. Her vision weakened. Her immune system collapsed. Still, she worked. Even as her health declined, she helped establish research institutes in Paris and Warsaw. She trained a new generation of scientists, including her daughter, Irène Joliot-Curie, who would later win a Nobel Prize herself. Marie Curie was building a legacy, even as her body was failing. In 1934, she died of aplastic anemia, a disease caused by prolonged radiation exposure. Her notebooks remain radioactive to this day. They are stored in lead-lined boxes. Her knowledge still burns. Marie Curie changed the world in ways she never lived to see. Her discoveries led to cancer radiotherapy, medical imaging, nuclear physics, atomic research. But perhaps her greatest impact was cultural. She proved that intelligence is not limited by gender, that perseverance can overcome exclusion, that science demands courage. She never patented her discoveries. She believed knowledge should be free. Today, Marie Curie rests in the Pantheon in Paris, one of the very few women honored there. She entered history not as a symbol, but as a force. Marie Curie once said, "Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood." She understood more than most. She understood atoms. She understood suffering. She understood resilience. And she paid the price. This was not just the story of a scientist. It was the story of a woman who refused silence. This was Time Lab Chronicles. And this was Marie Curie. When Marie Curie discovered radioactivity, she knew it would change the world, but she did not know how it would change it. She revealed the power hidden inside the atom, and then she stepped back. Because Marie Curie was not an inventor. She was a discoverer. Her discovery healed the sick, transformed medicine, and one day became powerful enough to erase cities Marie Curie never saw that future. But we did. And the real question is this: is a scientist responsible for what the world does with their discovery? If Marie Curie were alive today, would she take that first step again? Because this story did not end with her. In many ways, it began with her. This was Time Lab Chronicles.